This is part 2 of lesson 3 in unit 1, and we'll be continuing to solve linear equations. Your objective in this lesson is to write and graph the equation of the line and to graph the equation of the line using intercepts. Your vocabulary is the same as it was in part 1, so here's another chance to familiarize yourself with it. The first example we're going to be doing is we're going to write the equation of a line that passes through the points -10, 3 and -2, 5. The first thing we need to do to find the equation of this line is we need to find the slope. To find the equation of the slope, I'm going to take the ordered pairs and I'm going to label the first one x1, y1 and the second one x2, y2. Now after I've labeled those 2 points, I'm going to plug them in the slope formula. So my slope is equal to my y2 minus my y1 and all over my x2 minus my x1. Now remember, this 2 minus minus means a big O plus. So my slope is -8 over +8, so I have a slope of -1. Alright, now I'm going to take that slope in one of my ordered pairs and I'm going to plug them into the point slope formula. You'll notice I have my slope and the point I'm going to use at the top. I'm using the second ordered pair because, as we've discussed before, it doesn't matter which ordered pair you use because both of them are points on the same line, therefore they have the same equation. So these are the permanent parts of the slope-intercept form. I'm putting them here in black, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute in the slope, my slope of -1, and I'm going to substitute in my y coordinate with the y, and it's a -5, and my x coordinate with the x. And once again, the minus minus makes a big O plus. So now my equation in slope-intercept form is y plus 5 equals -1 times x plus 2. Now I'm going to take that equation that I have in slope-intercept form and I'm going to put it in slope-intercept form so that I can graph it. First thing I need to do is I need to distribute that -1 to the x. So that gives me a -1x, and then I'm going to distribute it to the 2, which gives me -2, and then I bring down my y plus 5. Now something when you're using the distributive property to pay particular attention to is a lot of people remember to distribute it to the first term, but sometimes they forget the second. Remember, when you use the distributive property, you must distribute that number, multiply it by every term inside the parentheses. Now, to put this finish off, I need it in slope-intercept form, so I need y by itself. So I have to get rid of that 5. So now my equation in slope-intercept form is y equals -1x minus 7. Alright, now I'm going to take that equation in slope-intercept form and I'm going to graph it. First of all, I start out with my y-intercept. It is always my starting point, so I plot -7 on the y-axis, and from there I'm going to use my slope, which is -1 over 1. So that means from the point, from the y-intercept, I'm going to fall down 1 and go over 1. Or if you rise up because it's negative, you can go back to the left and connect your dots, and that is your equation that is the graph of your line. Alright, now we're going to use some intercepts. The x-intercept is where a line crosses the x-axis. So if you have a coordinate plane here, and this is your x-axis, and this is your y-axis, if you have a line, and I'm going to draw a line here in blue, the point where it crosses the x-axis is your x-intercept, and the point where it crosses the y-axis is your y-intercept. Alright, now we're going to graph an equation using the x and y intercepts. And the best time to use the x-y intercepts for graphing is when it's in standard form, which is what it is right now. Standard form is ax plus by equals c. Whenever it's in that format, the easiest thing to do is use the x and y intercepts. So first of all, we're going to start out with the x-intercept. To find the x-intercept, you're going to make y 0. So you set y equal to 0. And all you do to do that is you rewrite the equation and then you substitute 0 in for y. What happens here is basically that term just cancels out and you're left with a one variable equation in x. You undo your multiplication with division and your x-intercept is 5. And you're going to plot that point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on the x-axis. Alright, next what we're going to do is we're going to find the y-intercept. And you do that by setting your x equal to 0. So what happens here is you take your equation and instead of an x, you substitute in 0 for x. And same thing happens here that happened with when you were finding the x-intercept. This term right here cancels out. And you are just left with the y. And your y-intercept in this case is 3 because when you divide by 5, 15 divided by 5 is 3. So my y-intercept goes on my y-axis at a positive 3. And then once you have 2 points, all you have to do is connect the dots and you have your line. Alright, so on your Google form, I'm going to be asking you, and you should be able to tell me in your own words, what is a y-intercept? And how are x and y intercepts different? And you might want to think about what is the ordered pair for a y-intercept and x-intercept. See you tomorrow.